I'm someone who holds the first season of Loki in the goody graces of Golden Marvel. It's flawed, absolutely, but an original story with a buddy cop premise featuring Lightning McQueen? That's a premise even the grumpiest of internet critics can get behind. Well, maybe not all of them. The character work, performances, and intriguing new world were what managed to keep me engaged through the convoluted first season. The entire concept of Loki falling in love with literally himself is so perfect. Someone in the writer's room was just high enough when they came up with that. In fact, the entire tone of the show was more akin to Doctor Who than anything Marvel was creating at the time, and if you're like me, all you wanted from Marvel was for them to do something different. Loki delivered. All that to say, I went into Loki Season 2 with careful optimism. I absolutely believe the show has potential for glorious purpose, but unfortunately, I also have a Disney Plus subscription and a brain. So, how did episode 1 stack up? Is it a perfect re-entry into Marvel for disillusioned fans, or a soulless corporate product in the never-ending content stream? Well, that's complicated. Let's jump into it. Quick side note, watching the Marvel intro was an absolute blast from the past. As someone who hasn't tuned into Marvel content for the better part of a year now, to suddenly be hit with the Technicolor collage of my entire childhood cinematic experience, it felt a lot like visiting the memorial of an old friend actually. A monument to something that was truly special, and now just fills you with sadness and regret. Back to the show though, season 2 picks up on the cliffhanger of Loki finding himself in a foreign timeline. Nobody on the TVA recognizes him, and their first instinct is to try and capture him. This is a plot thread I was quite looking forward to seeing continued. The mystery surrounding the nature of this timeline and Kang's apparent dominion over it left a lot of questions and was presumably making way for a dire tone to move forward with. Unfortunately for me, they don't quite commit to this, at least not in the way you would expect. So basically, Loki is warping between the past and present day TVA as contrived by the writers when convenient. This isn't an alternate reality at all, but instead a problem unique to Loki that's treated as more of an inconvenience than anything. He's got time travel sickness and the heroes need to fix it so they can get back to the actual plot. As such, the rest of the premiere feels like a filler arc and a distraction more than a story that builds upon the lore previously established. That's not to say I didn't enjoy the episode. I did. It was refreshing to be placed back into the MCU with likable characters, fun world building, and an engaging, if not little too predictable adventure. Tom Hiddleston and Owen Wilson continue to bring their A game, carrying the show on their backs and constantly entertaining while doing it. Once I came to terms with the fact that we weren't jumping into the apocalyptic sci-fi drama teased at the end of season 1, I was able to make the most of the episode. Even with Marvel's Achilles heel of oversaturation of jokes, Loki is still funny. I will stand by that. More often than not, the humor was very well placed. I genuinely burst out laughing at one of the visual gags, which I'll play on screen now if I can find it. Ke Kwan from Everything Everywhere was a fantastic addition, and his eccentric performance feels right out of that movie, in fact. I hope he frequents the rest of the season because Obi complements our hero's dynamic in a way no one else in the show has managed so far. Despite the lack of actual, plot development, the world building continues to engage. We're beginning to see the consequences of Sylvie killing Kang, and I really like the idea that despite Kang having founded the TVA with brainwashing and slavery, it was with the ultimate goal of preventing a multiversal war. There is this sense of dread that sort of looms over the episode and the characters. Loki in particular is constantly paranoid and sort of skitzing out a little bit. We know that this is the calm before the storm, and the imminent consequences of Sylvie's actions are unquantifiable, which makes them even more threatening. To touch on the multiverse of it all briefly, in my opinion, the best way to enjoy this show is to separate it from the larger MCU. The multiverse in Marvel is a mess. That is undeniable. We have seen countless different conflicting takes on it at this point, but if you isolate these plots to their respective stories, their respective movies, their respective shows, it makes them a lot more enjoyable. Circling back though, Loki's involuntary time travel, or time slipping, and resolving it is the sole focus of this episode, which they achieve by the end of it. As a plot device, I actually quite like time slipping. There's a sequence where Loki is popping between the past and present and instructing past Obi on how to resolve the present day issue, which was a lot of fun. Akin to Ratchet and Clank: A Crack in Time of all things. I'm a little disappointed that time slipping is resolved so neatly here, not only because it adds to the filler tone of the episode, but also because given more time to develop, this could have been a really fun element implemented in creative ways. Ultimately, Loki 2, episode 1 is a bit of harmless fun. A great re-entry into this world and even this universe if you haven't been a part of it for a while. It doesn't capitalize on the stakes it established last season, but I'm fairly confident that given a little more time to breathe, Loki is going to make for a strong season of TV. But that's all I got. Feel free to shout at me in the comments. I read those. Goodbye.